I tell you, this technology is great. Hey, I'll fix that though, Grace. I can do that live. That's right. Welcome back inside the Park for May for podcast number 923. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
AKA Negative Camera. Now you know why I've asked you here.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's actually not what I need you to do. I need you to fix my soundboard and my audio, virtual audio, and all the stuff that's supposed to be working that's not. And keep in mind, I haven't made any changes at all. It just decided not to work. Hey, tonight, for your kind consideration, we're going to cover some Formula One news. We've got some Formula One news. We've got some Patreon supporters joining us live for this podcast and our audience. So welcome to everyone there. Great to see you. Great to have you in the audience and chiming in as we go along. But before getting into the news, of course, I have to introduce my guest. That means I got to go all the way to the right coast of our nation, nestled near our nation's capital, just over the state line, actually, where she does things that are important, and she does them very well because you know her, you love her, the lovely, the redoubtable Grace. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm over here just tasting the biscuit. Taste that honey sauce. Yeah.
It's good.
Yes, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing, hanging in there. It was a little unseasonable here today in the middle of America. It was like 71 degrees. Not bad for February where I live. That's what we call the January thaw, but it's a little late.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's supposed to snow here next week, so that means it'll all end. So yeah, we're supposed to be in the 60s too. So
you know, I kind of thought you would, take matters in your own hands. You are an amazing woman for the great state of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And I was kind of thinking that, you may just go to there and, take care of Punxsutawney Phil.
I was not sure where the story was going there for a moment. I was a little, where's this going?
We're talking about Punxsutawney Phil seeing his shadow 6 more weeks as winner here in America.
Well, don't get your weather from a rodent. That might be my first bit of advice,
The prognosticator. Hey, a little known fact, well, maybe it isn't little known. Did you know this is the first time Punxsutawney Phil, was predicting the weather as a father? Hmm?
Oh.
He's got young'uns now.
All right.
Phil gets around. I mean, he's a playa.
We don't know.
It's rumors.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I mean, was Ben Silliam on it? I don't know. How can I trust it?
I don't know. Give it a week or so. He may win a Grammy for Best Country Album. He's talented.
Did he drop the F-bomb? Who knows? Why am I paying attention?
Have you been to Punxsutawney?
Of course. I'm sure we've had this conversation. I used to go to school nearby. And that's why I thought it was funny on the news. They were like, wow, there's a lot of people here. Have you been to Punxsutawney? There ain't nothing in that area. I went to school in Indiana. There's nothing there. Indiana, Pennsylvania, not Indiana, the state. But, there's nothing.
Yeah.
No, nothing. So,
did you go for Punxsutawney Phil for the event?
We went for the drinking. We were in college. But I'm sure Punxsutawney itself is dry, right? And so you have to so first of all, there's the family section and the drunk kids section. And so you always have to go back to somebody's car to warm up because it's freezing because, it's January, February, right? It's freezing outside and to drink. So, you kind of rotated so you wouldn't lose your spot, like at some sort of outdoor concert venue. So one person goes back to the car, warms up, drinks, and comes back and you just keep rotating out. What else?
Dave says there's nothing here in Indiana, Grace.
Well, there you go.
Now, Dave, that's not technically correct. You have the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and just northeast of that, you have Sweetwater Music. So,
yeah,
that's cool.
Yep.
But I'm a guitar player, so I would think that. So.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, it's not just go. I guess if you're in the area and you happen to be there on February 2nd, sure, stop in, but don't put on your list of things to do.
You wouldn't make a special trip for it.
No.
Like if you lived in Phoenix, you wouldn't pack the whole family up in the family truckster and drive all the way to Pennsylvania. Yeah.
All right. And if anybody dares send me hate mail, I know you're just lying. Because there's nobody that is in that area that's like, how dare you say there's nothing to do in Punxsutawney? Yo, there's nothing to do there. Although Indiana University does have the Jimmy Stewart Museum. So there is that great fun. Even though Jimmy Stewart denounced Pennsylvania. It was a big contentious thing until he passed.
Sounds like it was.
He failed to recognize them as his birthplace. It's also the Christmas tree capital of the world, apparently.
Well, see, unlike Chapel Roan, she doesn't disavow her being born in Missouri.
No, there you go.
Yeah, see, some people are proud of the state they're born in. And I know you are as well, Grace.
Yes. And I'm just treating Punxsutawney like an adult. I'm just telling you how it is. This is not like shame or slander. I just think anybody that went to IUP or lived in that area is like, yeah, that's about right. Actually, Grace is doing it pretty nice, like she's making it sound like a fun place to be.
It's not like Vegas.
No, it's a small town in Pennsylvania. It is. Yeah.
Should we talk about some F1 news?
Yeah, I was going to say, though, there is some sort of mythos around the fill. Like that's the same fill. Like not like it's not like there's been a bunch of fills. There's like some magic mythos around that's the
that's
same
not true. Groundhogs don't live that long.
That's why it's a magical mythos, right? Like there's some magic potion. Drinks,
when did that all start? What, 1800s? 1900s?
I don't know. I mean, again, if Punxsutawney now, I wasn't there in 2025, but I'm just saying I was there in the early 2000s and there was nothing to do. I can't imagine in the actual 1800s what there was to do, right? It's not like it's a happening place all of a sudden now. So, you come up with mythoses. That's what you do in a town like that. What else are you going to do? I don't even know I don't even know how it became a thing that the Groundhog became a thing.
I misspelled it.
Punxsutawney?
Like I would know how to spell Punxsutawney. Really. Well, there's folklore here, and then there's the Punxsutawney Phil canon. It's claimed that the one groundhog has lived to make weather since 1886.
I told you, there's only one groundhog. It's the same groundhog.
I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not believing it.
You know what? Take it to George Russell. I'm just saying. That's what they say.
We're going to have to get MBS on that. Maybe he could wave Punxsutawney Phil.
That's right.
That would be good. Yeah. Hey, and in big news, is this big news? Yeah, maybe. Depends on how you feel about the Las Vegas Grand Prix. But the Las Vegas Grand Prix, now, one of my original criticisms early on in the first race, not the second, because then I would be, rehashing old ground. I probably mentioned it in the second too, knowing me. But one of the, sticking points for me was how late it started, right?
Yeah.
It started at what? Midnight my time, your 1 p.m. your time on the East Coast. Yeah. No offense, but it's kind of late, right? Yeah. Well, look, staying up till 1 a.m. on the East Coast, folks, to watch the Vegas Grand Prix, it's not fun, but slightly better news is the organizers have now moved the race up to 8 p.m. Vegas time or 11 p.m. East Coast time. Okay, so, it's a couple hours. So that means that folks in Pilot Mountain, North Carolina, are get to watch the race and be back in bed around midnight, give or take, right?
Is that where Gunther lives?
No. Well, not to my knowledge.
He lives in North Carolina, though.
Yeah, he does live there.
I don't know where in North Carolina.
No, Pilot Mountain's close to Mount Airy, which was the, Mayberry with Andy Griffith's show.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Melton says downtown Charlotte, where the Steiner lives.
I guess that makes sense, but I like the idea of Gunther Steiner living in Mayberry.
I think that would be better. He could be like this era's Barney Fife.
Exactly. I like this. I think
with
we
the
got
bullet in
something
his
here.
pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, just the one bullet.
Or it would be old man Ben Weaver. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so that's where Pilot, because Mount Pilot they always referred to, but it's really Pilot Mountain. But anyway, I mean, look, hosting a race when the East Coast was in bed wasn't always the best strategy, in my opinion. I think I mentioned that in the first year. But then you have to have some deference for Las Vegas because of all the logistics, right? They're trying to minimize the disruption and impact on the Vegas Strip and surrounding roads because, let's be honest, Grace, that's their moneymaker, right?
Oh, that's their only moneymaker.
Right. Right.
I guess it ties into the Punxsutawney Phil story, just on a grander scale, right? Like, if you're blocking
it's the
up
same
the strip,
Grand Prix has always been the same Grand Prix since
we just keep
1886.
driving around Caesars. No, I'm just saying,
Right.
like there isn't anything else. It's the middle of the desert, right? Like, so if you're blocking up the strip, there's nowhere else to go, right? So
What are you going to do? Right?
So you
Go to
can't
the
keep
convention
doing it.
center?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes. So there you go. Yes.
I will.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I will say that I have played because, somebody that I live with made me play Vegas on the F1 game. And the sphere is very distracting when you're playing the game. It doesn't
Sure.
seem nearly to be as distracting for the drivers, but it is very hard to not just like drive right into it during the chicane because it's so bright and you're just like, what's that? Boom, right into the barriers in the chicane. So
you're like a moth on a front porch at night driving into the light.
But it's like this giant yellow smiley
No, Grace,
face.
don't go into the light. Go away from the light, Grace.
I'm just like, well, it is a good way to learn the track, and so it's very interesting, except that chicane killed me every time, because every time you're like, what's that? Boom. There it is. Right.
So stay away from the light. Well, it's good news for me. I get to start watching it at 10 p.m. Maybe I can stay awake for that. That's good. So that's the big news out of Vegas. But, as tragic as it was being a Formula One event, I think I saw a headline that said, no, Las Vegas organizers, F1, were not the F1 Organizers of the Year award. That went to Miami.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah. I could show you on my phone. Can I show you without exposing other numbers? I promise you. I can show you on my call list the number of times a very nice young man from Miami Grand Prix has called me trying to sell me Paddock Club tickets.
Oh, well.
And I told him, I said, well, I appreciate that, but like if I went, I would probably go and get a media pass and I'd probably cover his media. I wouldn't be like a customer for the, Paddock Club, right?
Right.
Because I've been in the Paddock Club with Ferrari, and those tickets were, $5,000 on Friday and Saturday and $10,000 on Sunday or whatever it was. And that was at the time I went in Austin. But and he's like, yeah, well, kick it around, if you got some friends and blah, blah, blah. And then, I said, oh, okay. So we talked about the podcast. He had no idea I did a podcast on Formula One. Had zero idea.
So were you just like on some listserv? Like
I guess.
What? Digit dial? How did that happen?
Right. Where did he get? Did he get it like from a Taco Bell customer list? Because I ordered Taco Bell one time. I don't know where he got my name and number, but he was calling me. He had zero idea that I even really, podcasted. And I was talking about it. I said, well, I've been podcasting for like over 15, almost 16 years on Formula One. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, he goes, I'm new to the sport. I didn't know. I was like, yeah, it's been around longer than 16 years. Yeah. So we had this nice conversation. He's a super nice guy, but and then when I told him I don't think it'd be, then he just kept calling. He'll keep calling. He'll keep calling when Cameron was in Egypt land. Let my Cameron go.
You made eye contact.
I did make I answered the phone because it popped up on the caller ID, Miami GP. And I thought, why is the Miami GP calling me? I thought, well, maybe they want me to cover some sort of breaking news for them, and maybe they're reaching out to podcasters because they'd like to, give us some content or something like that. And I thought, yeah, I'm always willing to help, of course. But that wasn't it.
Way to go. Don't make eye contact. I'm telling you, this is how I get told to do everything.
I know.
Who's gonna do this? Grace. Dang it! Everybody else looking at their shoes.
Yeah, I know. No eye contact.
That's right.
So anyway, that's your news from Las Vegas. I hope that makes you happy.
Yeah, I guess it's sure. And it'll still be cold, and they're all complaining about it being cold because, again, nobody knows how to use NOAA, apparently, and the rest of the world and look up the weather. And they think that it's like the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's not. It gets very cold there.
It's another American thing versus European. It was interesting. I remember going to Austin or other Grand Prix in the States, but you'd show up at Austin and it's shorts weather. It's like 70 degrees, 74 degrees or whatever, and I got all these fans are all in shorts and light summer cottons and all this, and then all the Europeans are walking around with scarves on and jumpers, and everything's like, how are you not sweating to death in that? Why do you have a scarf on? It's like 72 degrees out. That's shorts weather.
Oh, for sure. I mean, but I've also been to Miami in like February. It's great because there it's like 65, 70, and they're like bundled up head to toes like it's snowing outside, and I'm walking around in short sleeves and shorts. Like, this is great. It's like 20 feet of snow at home.
Right. Yeah. It's got to get well into the 30s before I put a coat on.
Your teenage boyness never died, right? Like, you're still out there wearing
I didn't wear shorts all winter long. No, I didn't do that. No, but what can I say? Anyway, hey, speaking of clothes and wearing things or not wearing things at all, in this case, we're going to talk about the nude reserve driver. Yes, you heard me right. Formula One has a nude reserve driver, and it's not Bianca Censori. All right? I'm just putting that out there. Did you like my Grammys reference?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. That was quite a dress she had on. So if, or not, if you were wondering what Valtteri Bottas was going to do since losing his drive at Sauber, well, the answer is, folks, he'll be a reserve driver at Mercedes. So that's good news, right? However, if you were all excited about 2025 and you were really looking forward to getting a new calendar for 2025 with 12 glorious pictures of Valtteri's bum, well, you may be disheartened because Mercedes wants him to pump the brakes on any more nude photos because, they're Mercedes, right?
Whatever. Boo.
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 Boo. Buzzkill Mercedes.
Exactly. Who cares? Who cares if his butt's out? Whatever. Nude's out. He's fine. I mean, as long as he's wearing clothes in the car. That's where I think that's my concern. That seems like a lot of chafing to be nude in the car. And somebody else is going to have to get in there, and that seems like unsanitary. But whatever. You want to walk around being nude in your own time? Go for it. Take a calendar. Raise some money. Have a nice life. Send one to Lewis. It's great. Good idea.
Yeah, it is great. Grace, how would you pronounce the name Xean? Because I butcher it every time I say it, and he's a wonderful friend of the podcast. And I unfortunately I butcher his name every time I say it. But he said Bottas stunt double.
Oh yeah,
love it. Yes. Well, Toto says that he can keep the ugly mullet, though. Toto's words, not mine. And for being terse, I think Valtteri should work a deal out where Toto has to grow a mullet. Can you imagine Toto with a mullet?
I mean, he has the hair for it. He
totally has the hair
right?
for it.
Like, he should be doing something amazing with that hair at that age, right?
I know.
Like, live for all of us, sir. So I think that, grow the mullet, or I don't know. I guess, again, this is why I can't be professional like this. I would be like, well, you can keep your ugly face, Toto. And there we go, right? Like, thanks.
That would have been your witty retort.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have just given him the middles.
Well, I know, but that's not very good on the radio, right? Like, that's not a very good
Yeah,
pod
true.
if I just, but I'm just saying, my response is like, yeah, and you can keep your, ugly old face too, buddy.
I thought it was Zine.
Zine.
I think I pronounced it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, and hi Zine, thanks for being an awesome friend of the podcast. So anyway, I think Toto could do the mullet or the little snidely whiplash mustache. You know.
No, I think. Okay, so I think.
What about the goatee?
No goatee. I think he needs to go full Nigel Mansell, right? Like,
or
maybe
the big man.
Yeah, I want a big, like.
Yeah, big.
I'm pretty sure
yes.
Bottas could, grow like a Nigel Mansell mustache, like all the way, man.
Yes.
Or some like, emo, sideburns, right? Like, I mean.
Yeah. That'd be perfect.
Shots. Yeah, I would just keep upping the ante if I was Bottas, right? Why stop with the mullet? Just try all the, get the big mutton chops or like the big mustache. Like, just go all the way and keep pushing that boundary like a teenage boy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, instead of just, I guess he could just, I won't do the nude bum shot calendar anymore. Maybe he'll just do the full frontal nudity and turn around. He's a rebel.
Why not? I mean,
Sorry if the dog barking becomes the soundtrack of this podcast. That would be good.
Maybe Bradford's a big fan of Valtteri Bottas.
He might be a big fan. So Valtteri's a good driver, no doubt, and it makes sense to me to have him as a reserve driver for sure. Although I did see a few people asking why another new driving talent wasn't considered as a replacement for Kimi Antonelli for this role. Like bringing in some of the more Mercedes Young Driver program, right? Bringing in some other young drivers. And I do think they have other drivers doing sim work and everything else. So I wouldn't be worried about that. I think Mercedes and their young driver program is well in hand. I don't think they have any challenges there. But regarding Valtteri's bum calendar, it raised 120,000 pounds or more, maybe, for prostate cancer charity.
It's very important.
All the money went to a charity, prostate cancer charity.
He should have, how they have the mammogram buses or whatever? So so the people that don't have access are able to get, they should do this for PSA testing and just have a bus.
There you go.
And you can get your free PSA test while you're there and, raise some money that way too.
Right. You could just go. Right? Take a little blood, do a PSA test. There you go. Everything looks good, right?
Toto's of that age. There's a lot of guys in the paddock that are of age that they need a PSA test. I'm just saying, what
he's of that age.
Healthy,
right?
He meets the screening criteria.
See, I think that's good. So you don't want him to do the nude calendar thing, and I get it but why not think of something else like you just suggested? And do something with Mercedes. Keep the charitable efforts going, right? Yeah. It's special to him. He likes doing those. So maybe you could do the charity, the PSA van, and he could drive it, and you could get places really quickly because he's a good driver.
That's right. I mean, I wonder how this came. Did somebody ask Toto a question? I'm sure he just wasn't at a press conference. So I want to know what question. I guess somebody just asked him, are you going to let Valtteri do the bum calendar anymore, right?
I don't see him sitting down going, all right, got some news today. We're rehiring Valtteri Bottas as reserve driver, and right up front, the butt calendar's got to stop. I don't think that. I think somebody asked him about it, I'm sure.
I'm done.
Done. Ugly mullet can stay. The butt calendar got to go.
I don't know. Maybe he just voluntarily offered this information, and nobody asked him any questions.
Maybe he did. He's been speaking rather candidly lately, has our Toto. Yes. Yeah. He's got a lot to say. Opened up the safe. Toto's got a lot to say, right?
Especially about George. George, you better keep it in line.
Right.
We got a championship to win, George.
So the other big news this week is concerning a American motor car manufacturer called Ford.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Have you? And then a Formula One multi-champion, Max Verstappen. You heard of him?
Yeah, occasionally.
Yeah. Well, when Red Bull announced that they would be working with Ford for their 2026 powertrain project, it signaled the team's effort to grow their own internal power unit program instead of relying on shove from a competitor, right? Okay. Now, if you go far enough back, way back into time, If you go
the first Punxsutawney Phil, way back in time.
Way back. Yeah, yeah. So you and I said this numerous times, and Paul and I said it numerous times when they had the Renault engine. It was a complete disaster, and nobody would sell them engines and all that. And we said at the time, this is crazy. These guys are the sport's biggest privateer, and nobody will sell them an engine because they're afraid they're going to get beat by them. And they just assumed that Red Bull, got all their, toys and went home. And that's just BS. So they decided years later they were going to do their own. And they're working on it jointly with Ford for 2026. Now, there's been some rumors, though, and speculation on the socials, Grace, about that relationship last year when Red Bull went through its own internal drama, and more speculation about the status of the program. There were several headlines that were talking points that Ford's, maybe things aren't going well over there with Ford. Maybe they're behind schedule. The whole Christian Horner thing has Ford upset. There were those talking points. But the talking point now is Ford's announcement last week. And what, you might be asking, did they announce last week? Well, last week they announced that they're going to return to Le Mans with a new hypercar for 2027. And many believe that the Red Bull tie-in was to assist in the developing of the powertrain for their Le Mans effort.
Not too shabby.
Huh? Chris Farley's cousins, he's the Abe Lincoln of right thinking, right? So there you go. So he's got that, and if that's true, that makes sense because F1 could be a rapid prototyping for a hypercar powertrain and all of those efforts. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. Maybe that's true, but that's not what everyone's talking about this week. Nope. Fans are speculating that Ford's entry into Le Mans in 2027 may just signal Max's departure from F1 to join Ford in the WEC series.
That seems like a big leap. I mean, I'm all for Max going to WEC. I mean, that's fine. I mean, if that's what he wants to do, cool. If he wants to stay in Formula One, cool. I mean, either way is cool with me. But I don't know. That's some Dodger connected with some big ball of twine.
Yeah. Maybe those people speculating aren't fans of Max and they'd like to see him leave F1, or maybe they're just weaving some speculation due to Max's comments that he's not going to be in F1 forever and he'd like to try other forms of motorsport. That's sort of backed up by his online racing where he's always racing sports cars, Le Mans, that kind of thing. And then he had those comments last year. Was it last year that he said he really wants to try Daytona 24, right? He really wants to race that. Paul just did. Finished third.
Well, we all can't be Paul. So,
not all of us can be Paul.
I can want to be that too, but
Yeah. Hey, Harder Racing just raced to Panorama down in Australia, and they won. They were first in class.
Oh, that's lovely! Congratulations.
That young Ian James. Keep your eye on that young driver. He's
just like
pretty
Sebastian
good.
Loeb. I've heard a lot of good things about him.
I heard a lot of good things about that Ian James.
Ian James, that's right.
He's a delightful guy. I've met him several times. Super good guy. And I did like the comment that suggested that maybe Max drive the Ford and Lewis drive the Ferrari hypercar in Le Mans.
That's great because
That's
just
funny.
go the whole way, right? Like Ford, Ferrari, let's do it. Why spread this rumor halfway? Like go all the way.
Right. I mean, if you're gonna just start, speculating, just throw gas on it, right?
Exactly.
Why not? Although to be fair, this sort of harkens back to what I've been harping on. Lewis isn't Max's main rival, folks. It's a different generation. Lewis is the Sebastian Vettel generation, Fernando Alonso generation. He's that generation, the Checo, that generation, Nico Rosberg, Nico Hulkenberg, that kind of thing, right? That's his generation. Max's generation is Charles, Lando, Oscar, Carlos. That's who he's battling. And to be honest, I'd rather see him battling his own generation in Formula One than to be battling older drivers over in WC. But that's just me.
Yes. The old guy squad. We don't need that.
It's like the Rolling Stones winning Rock Album of the Year at 80.
Well, I mean, as long as they're not winning Best New Artist, I guess that's really the only thing they can't win at this point.
It's the Grammys. That wouldn't have shocked me either. Okay.
I don't know. You can't really. They have a lot of albums. I don't think you can give it to the Rolling Stones. It would be great, though. It would be a great controversy.
Sure would. Yeah.
It'd be the first band to win like a Lifetime Achievement and Breakthrough Artist in the same show.
They shouldn't have won Rock Album of the Year. They should have given him a Lifetime Achievement Award because they truly deserve it. If they haven't already, but they definitely deserve it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
What's the other big news in Formula One? Well, this is it. This had a lot of tongues wagging.
It did.
Yeah. So our dear friend Johnny Herbert.
Yeah.
Well, he's out as a FIA guest steward.
I've heard.
Yeah, it's more FIA news this week. MBS just can't stop being, controversial, right? He's constantly. See, that doesn't work. I was going to say that, and it didn't work. See, now it will.
Controversy.
Stupid.
I wasn't sure how you were going to finish that sentence either.
Yes.
Ben Silliam is. There's so many, like that Mad Libs would be, we could put all kinds of words in there, right?
Right. Right,
trying to
right.
keep it PG here, people.
Trying to. Trying to keep it, relatively nice. So, yes. So he's in the news again. He's talking about it. Now, it's interesting. What he said is, or what the FIA said is this, quote, Johnny is widely respected and brought invaluable experience and expertise to his role. However, after discussion, it was mutually agreed that his duties as an FIA steward and that of a media pundit were incompatible. Now, this sent speculation wild, with some accusing Red Bull and Max Verstappen as a catalyst for the decision, because Johnny had been at odds with Max's driving style last year, and this led to Christian Horner having to weigh in with answer, hey, Christian, what do you think about the butt calendars? And, oh, by the way, what do you think about Johnny Herbert, right? Being, is that because you and Max complained? So now Christian's got to wade into this cesspool that MBS started, and he said,
he does.
Yeah. He said, well, firstly, absolutely nothing to do with Max, but absolutely the right decision. You cannot.
That's quote of the year.
Yes. Absolutely nothing to do with us, but absolutely the right decision. Right?
That guy.
You cannot have stewards working in the media. You don't have it in the premiership. You don't have it in any form of professional sport. He's got a point there. It's totally inappropriate. You're either on the sporting regulatory side or you're on the media side. You can't have a foot in both camps. I kind of agree with him.
Does he get paid to be a steward?
I don't know if they give him a stipend or not.
Because I'm guessing that Johnny Herbert, just like the rest of us, can't just live off of doing things for free. So the guy's got to make some money too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I agree, it's bad optics, and that you shouldn't be able to have a platform to speak your opinion and then have to go to a steward. And I also agree with Johnny Herbert's perspective of, I can do both. I'm an adult, right? But it's the optics. This is 100% not about whether or not Johnny Herbert can do this. It's the optics of it. I get that.
Yeah.
But I just think, the guy's got to make some money somehow. And are you really paying him to be a steward? No, because do we have professional stewards in this sport? No. So,
right.
The guy's he's good for television. Somebody's picked him up. They're going to keep paying him. Well, don't be a steward, I guess, because they're not going to pay you as much as the TV is going to pay.
But he was dropped by Sky, and I don't know who he's a pundit for now, if I'm honest. Sorry, I should have researched that. But
we'll get Huxley on it for next
time.
week.
Yeah. Yeah, we may need Huxley to figure that out.
Only so much time, and your soundboard took all of it. Thanks.
Yeah, it did.
Jerk.
Yeah, totally did. I was supposed to be able just to make a very quick over here.
I think you know what the problem is.
Oh, now see, that works.
Yeah.
Good grief.
So he's not working for Sky Sport, and he's not a steward anymore. So I mean, you're right. I don't know what he's doing now. I didn't check his LinkedIn profile before the show. I could have done that.
I didn't either. I should have. But ultimately, this move brings up the question of a guest steward in general, right? And as we've been advocating for nearly 15 years now, and I'm dead serious about that. You and I have been talking about this for 15 years and ranting about it. But a sport like F1, it's a premier sport. It should have a permanent stewarding team for consistency. Also, as we've said for years, the reason it doesn't have a permanent steward is because all of these car clubs that pay the FIA for membership in the FIA get a perk, which is some of their esteemed members get to be stewards for a race when it's, being held in their country or thereabouts. It's a case of greasing the wheel of revenue. So you just follow the money. Yeah. So for 17 years, I've been writing about Formula One on a website and podcasting for 16 or whatever it is. And we've been saying this all along. But the reality of it is that those are the perks that you get when you pay all the money to be a member club.
This professional in the stewards room was that compromise, right? Because people were so mad because it used to only be
yes,
Yokel Todd, who's the head of the AAA in the United States, and he's now gets to be the steward in Vegas, right? Maybe that's not a great idea. And so this was the compromise they came up with, 10 years ago, to have a professional race car driver in there to kind of manage these people who, I don't know. I mean, I've been watching this sport, for 20 years? 25 years. I don't know the rule book like that, right?
Right.
And I think this is where, even though Christian Horner makes the point that, you don't have this in other sports. Yeah, other sports have professionals, and they have to, learn the rules, and it's difficult, Again, I think that came out of 5 years, 10 years ago. I don't know. Everything seems like 5 years ago, but that's not possible. When the NFL referees had the strike and they had to bring in other referees, it was hard to find people to be, able to do this job. This isn't just a job that, I could study up a little bit. I watch football. I could be a referee. I couldn't. That's a lot of rules that you have to learn and take tests and be on top of. So, maybe.
Yeah, agreed. No, but you're spot on. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a very important point. The whole guest steward, former racer steward, was a compromise, because it used to be 3 people from the car clubs.
Yeah.
No former F1 driver, no John Watson or Johnny Herbert or whoever, right? Or Tom Christensen or whoever. They had no guest steward like that. And it was a compromise to try to bring in a professional with these car club members, right? And so, and that's what the tough thing is. Zenas, can you still not have guest stewards, but have a core to make the final decision? I feel like this isn't that difficult. And that's, I would say they kind of have that now, right? They have the stewards in situ or on-prem, and then they've got the review team remotely that have all the cameras and information, and they're also there to render judgment. So they've kind of got this remote team that's supposed to be consistent, the same people. But even that, then all of a sudden, well, what good is the on-prem people doing if really the remote people are overriding everything they decide and calling it consistently, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Secaucus is checking things out and making sure everybody's minding their P's and Q's. But I think the other thing, too, is, again, this is something to always keep in mind that I hadn't thought about until it came up, was that it's happening as it goes, right? Basketball, you stop the action. We all pull out the little camera, right? Same thing in football, right? We all huddle around the little camera and we figure out whether it was a foul or not. The racing's still going on. So you have to have some people paying attention to that thing and some other people paying attention to that thing. And if we got 3 things going on at one time, we're right? Because we can't stop it. So
and it's all happening at 180 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
But it did bring up your boy, Zach Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And leave it to Zach Brown to call it out and say what we've been saying and thinking for well over 17, 18 years. He said this, quote, "To have part-time unpaid stewards in a multi-billion-dollar sport where everything is on the line to make the right call, I don't think we're set up for success by not having full-time stewards. He said this, a hat tip to Autosport during a business exchange in London, but Autosport carried this quote. As far as paying for the stewards, this will probably be unpopular amongst my fellow teams. I'm happy if McLaren and all the racing teams contribute. It's so important for the sport. It can't be that expensive if everybody contributes. It's not going to break the bank, end quote. And he's right, Grace, and I just did some stupid numbers on a Hello Kitty calculator here, but he's right. Of course, if you just ran some numbers, let's say that all in, fully baked salaries, travel, hospitality, healthcare, taxes, all of that. Let's say each steward, the three stewards, each of them costs you $1 million, all in, right, fully baked. Okay, among the teams, that's $100,000 for consistent stewarding for the entire year. The problem is those FIA car club members and the FIA more than just cover the $1 million in steward expense. It's a big part of their revenue, right? So you just got to follow the money to see why the FIA wouldn't be for that.
You know how they could pay for those stewards?
How?
That historical payment that Ferrari gets every year just for being Ferrari. Why don't we, instead of giving that money to Ferrari, hire some professional stewards? Benefits everybody.
Yeah, right. Instead of the World Championship winning, Constructors Championship winning team getting less wind tunnel time, they could just give them all the wind tunnel time, but charge them to cover those steward fees.
To pay for the stewards. All right.
If you win the Constructors Championship, you're going to pay for the stewards. Right.
But isn't that just going to help you keep winning the championship?
Yes. Yeah, and Melton's right. Ferrari needs the money to help pay for Lewis.
Well,
That's so true. Yeah. So anyway, watch this space. I don't know. MBS and Jean Todt and Max Mosley weren't listening to you and I bemoan about this 17, 18 years ago. But now that Zach has waited, okay, you'll listen because it's Zach Brown, but you wouldn't listen to us. Well, yes, of course you should listen. I think if it's Zach, it's Zach.
There has to be something else fun that the motor clubs could be doing, right? Like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this seems like a lot of work. Like, I'd rather go on like a guest ride with somebody, or like there has to be some good food and drink or something. This seems like a lot of work to be a guest.
I got an idea. If the car clubs are looking for perks, have this young man from Miami GP call them. And get them hospitality and paddock club tickets.
That's what I'm saying. I don't see how being a steward is a reward. It just seems like a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, he could hunt down car club members, in the remote hills of Italy. Hello? Is this Giuseppe? Giuseppe. Oh, hi, I'm with Miami Grand Prix.
Yes, that's right.
So there you go. That's our answer to it right there.
Yeah.
Hey, and other big news this week. I know most of you are really way out into the long grass on the technical part of Formula One. I know you guys love that. And so I include this story just for you because you're an anorak, because you want to know exactly how much 1 point of downforce is. You want to know that. You want to see a team's calculation of the Coanda effect. I know how you are. I get it. More Flexi wing test. That's what this sport needs, and that's exactly what it's getting. The FIA said it was happy with its current wing test, and to expand the test would be very difficult due to the varying wing designs. But in a complete U-turn this week, they now say they're expanding their testing at the start of the 2025 season. Are you ready for the quote, Grace?
I think everybody's happy about this except for McLaren. All right, I'm ready.
Sure, you're right. Here's the quote. Following further analysis carried out by the FIA single-seater department, is there anybody left in that department, or are they all quit?
I love those guys.
Yeah, those guys are all... wait. I think they quit, didn't they? I don't know.
They all went to the double-seaters.
Yeah.
The double-seater department.
No, we're going to the double-seater and talking to Mario because he drives the double-seater. After the conclusion of the 2024 season, we are committed not just interested, but committed to ensure that bodywork flexibility is no longer a point of contention for the 2025 season. As part of this effort, we will be increasing the scope of rear wing tests from the start. This is important. The rear wing test at the start of the 2025 season, and additional front wing tests being introduced from the Spanish Grand Prix. This phased approach allows teams to adapt without the need to discard existing components unnecessarily. These adjustments are aimed at further refining our ability to monitor and enforce bodywork flexibility regulations, ensuring a level playing field for all competitors to promote fair and exciting racing, end quote. Now, the thought here is, Grace, is that most of the teams go on the initial flyaway races with the preset front wings, chassis, all that good stuff.
Right.
And the real big upgrades really don't come until they get back to Europe and Spain. So the FIA is saying, look, we're not going to hit you with all new front wings and all that stuff right out of the chute. So we'll wait to Spain because you're going to come back with a new front wing then anyway. So we'll wait to do those tests when you get back to Europe and Spain. So then they're going to have new tests then.
All right.
Does that get you excited about the sport? Does it get you pumped up?
I can't wait. I can't wait till Spain. There's new Flexi wing tests. Woo!
You can see Zach get that communique over fax from the FIA and run down to the engineering department and look at the wing and go, This is bendy.
I don't know.
This is like Ferrari's Flexi floor. Somebody fix this.
That's right. That's not okay.
I know. It's crazy. Okay. That's the news stories that I had this week. That's what I saw this week.
Okay.
Now, other people may have seen other things, and they may have been remotely related to motorsport. They may not have, but that's why we have Albon's Cats, and that's where Grace brings us cutting-edge stories you may not have seen, you may have missed this week. What do you got for us, Grace?
I don't get my music.
Oh, I gotta find some music. The one music I had didn't work anymore, and then I lost that, and I can't. And now I got to do breaking news music. Is that fitting? I don't know. Maybe not. Yes, it's that time. You love it. You missed the stories this week, but it's time for Grace to get us all caught up with Albon's Cats. All right.
All right. Well, it's a big week for you. We're heading into the Super Bowl with your guys.
Yes, I got my guys.
So we got the chefs.
You're not a Philly fan, are you?
No, I'm a Steelers fan. The Eagles are the worst.
Yeah, I thought so.
And at least my mayor knows how to spell Steelers. So
right.
That's great. Leave that how to spell.
Time for go to bed.
I don't know. Like Eagles, it's not that hard of a word, I guess. I don't know. All right. But anyway, so we got the Super Bowl, but I think this was blown up by basketball this weekend. So I like, if there was any news, I don't have it because the Luka Doncic trade to Dallas from Dallas to LA, and AD going to Dallas. And once again, I always have to refer to him as AD. And it was helpful because it originally, it took a while before Flip really got indoctrinated into Formula One. And I would always accidentally call Anthony Davidson. And I was like, I just have to call him AD because I'm always going to call him Anthony Davidson. And you were like, who's that? But now he watches Formula One. So now I understand why I confuse these two people. Not that they're the same person, but it's too much. I can't. And
why so slow to get into F1, Flip? Why so slow?
He was.
I'll tell you why. Because he's a discerning young man, and it wasn't really grabbing him early on.
On top of the fact that we had a friend of ours had us over on Saturday, so I put on my, Aston Martin Alonso jersey to go. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I have to change if you're going to wear that. And he comes down and wears his Ferrari shirt. I'm like, this is going to end. So then I have to put on my McLaren jacket. I'm like, this is not okay. It's not okay.
It's got to be eating Flip up to wear my team's gear. It's got to be killing him.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's all Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton could be at Haas. It would be fine. He would wear it, right? It's all about the driver. But I just think that I'm the one that's suffering for this decision of Lewis Hamilton's. Nobody else in my household is just me.
I know. Being the McLaren fan walking around seeing Ferrari logos, the Cavallino, not good for you.
No. That's right. It's not good. But
It's not a healthy work environment for you, Grace. It's just not.
It isn't. As if living with 4 cats wasn't enough, I now have a Ferrari fan in my house. Great.
Right. Time for the fancy feast.
So, this week. So up to now, I was trying to figure out what am I going to talk about. We've had some MotoGP launches is what we've had. And so
yeah.
In case anybody wanted to know, so we've had so far almost all of them at this point. And we had Trackhouse and Aprilia and Gresini. Ducati last week had another year of room because Pecco Bagnaia was like, hey, we used to do this. Why don't we do this anymore? I don't know why they still haven't figured out how to bring Ferrari into it, because I think that was always what was fun, was to bring Ducati and Ferrari together. But, sure. But I like that they're still doing the whole skiing event, and it was great to see, Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia racing each other on the slopes and having a good time together. We learned that KTM will have, 2 different teams again this year, but the bike has the same livery. That's great. I love that plan. Let's have 4 bikes with the same livery. Excellent. This is just like my complaint about how everybody in Formula One is blue. Why are all your dots blue? You all should have to pick a color and that's it.
Right.
I don't know. It's slightly different shade of blue. That's great. So now KTM, all 4 bikes, same livery. Awesome. How am I ever going to keep that straight? I don't know. Is that Pedro Costa? Oh, I don't know. Who knows? It's all the same color.
Fabio says need to save costs with KTM. They owe a bit of money.
I mean, there is that too. But apparently, Pit Pirate says it's fine. I'm just going to believe him. It's fine. Who am I to ask questions?
Right.
It'll be fine. So they're all the same. And then this year, so then we had Yamaha and Pramac did their launch. So HRC Honda, so that's the main team for Honda. Repsol, so the orange, so those of you who watched, right, you're used to the orange Repsol Honda.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Now they are just a red, white, and blue HRC Honda. Castrol is going to be their supplier. So it's a little green, but the orange is gone. I mean, it's been getting less and less and less, and now it's gone. So there's that. And we don't know what LCR Honda, which is their second team, is going to look like. They may also have the same red, white, and blue livery. Who knows, right? And I'm not okay with that. And so, there's a couple more launches coming, but they're also going to do a group launch in Bangkok on Sunday, just like Formula One is doing.
One night in.
Yeah, I guess so. That's the whole thing. And then the first race is at the end of this month. So, the season's getting started. Formula One's getting started. It's short. It's like Super Bowl.
It is. We're getting there.
Super Bowl, take 2 sleeps, and then the season will start again. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Harder Racing's already had 3 races. I mean, racing's here.
That's right.
We're that close.
Right. That's right. So,
I agree.
Yeah. So there you go. So you can wake up in the morning, you can watch the MotoGP all-bike launch, and then you can watch the Super Bowl and stay awake until not as late as I do, but it's still pretty late. I feel that the Super Bowl should just be sooner. I don't care about you people on the West Coast. You can.
I don't know what time does it start. Is it Sunday?
Yeah, it starts at 5 or something.
5? 5 or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Because it doesn't end till 11. I just know I never really make it to the end. So
isn't your boy Kendrick playing?
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar at halftime?
Yeah, I'll make it halftime.
Yeah.
But that'll
Who
be
was your favorite halftime?
Okay, so I will say this is an old one. I do have a warm spot for when Paul McCartney did it, because
a lot of people like that.
I like that Paul McCartney kept referring to the Super Bowl like a person, right? Thank you, Super Bowl, right? You're great.
Right.
You're Paul McCartney. And so I was good. I mean, I liked most of the modern. I loved Rihanna last year. I mean, I like that they're kind of, because it used to always be that, again, it was Paul McCartney, right? It was people that older people would be into. I like that they're now kind of getting people that aren't quite just what old people are into, right? Which would be me now, right?
Right.
But we're trying to get something that the kids might be into as well. That's pretty good. Rihanna.
My favorite was Prince. I think Prince was awesome.
You're right. Prince is a classic.
Yeah, Prince is Yeah, he's
and,
awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, for sure. I don't know.
There you go.
Flip just died. He's going to listen to this, and I will know exactly, because he's a huge Prince fan. I'll know exactly when he gets to this point, because I'll just hear a yell or like a sad groan that I didn't.
Well, then he should be happy. My all-time favorite was Prince.
No, that's the right answer.
Yeah,
It's like
I feel it is.
Marvin Gaye singing the best national anthem at the All-Star Games for basketball, right? Like, I think that's a classic, right?
Yeah,
So
it sure is.
We could all be
it
that
sure
way.
Is.
So I'll put that out there. And
all
one
right.
more thing before we move on. I wasn't sure how to bring this up, but by some fun twist of fate, I'm also going to get to go to Horef next April, or this April. I keep saying next April. It's 2025. Where have I been?
You're going to Horef?
This year.
Oh, fun.
So we're going, a friend of mine was like, hey, I want to go to Madrid. We've been talking about traveling. I'm like, let's go to Madrid. And then we looked at the calendar.
Oh, that's exciting.
That's the same time as Horef. We're already there. What's 4 hours? So we're going to go to Horef. So, yeah.
Huh.
End of April. So
wow, that's exciting.
Because this will only be the third time I've ever been to a MotoGP race, right? There's the year we went to Indy in 06 or whatever.
Indy,
and then
right.
Last year we went to Austin, and now we're going to go to Horef.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gone to the two least attended MotoGP races in general.
Well, that's probably good.
Most attended, Horef is huge. So I'm like, this will be quite. We'll get to see how the other half live, and but yeah, it's kind of crazy. So.
Que pasa, amigo?
Yeah, so if anybody out there has some great tapas recommendations for Madrid or anything I should be doing, or Horef, let me know. I'm in.
Cool. You ready for some no shit headlines?
I am ready.
All right. First up, F1 legend David Coulthard, 53, proposes to stunning model partner Sigrid Silversand, 23 years his junior.
All right, right on.
You go, Sigrid. That's it. Sorry, I don't speak that language. Zine. I now know how to spell that and say it.
That's right. We're good.
Let's see. Yeah. So there you go. Okay. Is the challenging part of that headline that he's marrying a woman 23 years his junior, or is the challenging part of that headline that you use the word legend?
I guess he's not quite
Schumacher, legend. Jim Clark, legend. Jackie Stewart, legend.
David
Sterling
Coulthard.
Moss, legend. Lewis Hamilton, legend of the sport. David Coulthard, awesome dude. I love DC.
Not legend.
I don't know. Legend that's putting a lot of weight on DC, I guess we have to have a whole conversation in F1. When do you cross the legend line? Is Sebastian Vettel a legend?
What does Pastor Maldonado need to do to reach legend status?
Is he a legend?
That's strange. I wonder what's causing all the accidents.
Right? Because he's a legend for other reasons.
Yeah,
right. Right. Could Lance Stroll be a legend? Well, okay.
In the Pastor Maldonado category, perhaps, yes.
Maybe. Could Valtteri Bottas be a legend with all of his incredible bum work?
Yes, that's
Hard
right.
to know.
His bum craft.
He's got good bum craft. He has good bum craft.
DC
may have good bum craft. I have no idea. But I bet Sigrid does. I'm just saying.
I'm more like, why does she have to be stunning? She's just a person. It's fine. Doesn't have to be stunning.
Yeah, stunning model partner.
Stunning.
It could just be proposes to partner Sigrid.
Maybe David Coulthard is the stunning one. I don't know.
And maybe she's the legend.
The legend. That's right.
Yes. All right. You're going to love this headline, Grace. F1 star wears budgie smugglers as he competes in race he founded in completely different sport. I'll give you one guess of who that is.
Valtteri Bottas.
You got it. It is Valtteri Bottas. Valtteri Bottas, he's got great bum craft, and he wears budgie smugglers.
did I want to be right or wrong? And that answer was what I was afraid that if it like, what if you say no, it's not Valtteri Bottas, and I'm like, oh no, what is it gonna be?
Right. All right, Dave says new Park for May t-shirt. Which one, Dave? Budgie Smugglers?
No, I think it was from something about Legends.
Legend.
F1
Okay.
Legends. I think that's yeah.
Who's a
boy.
legend? Budgie Smugglers, cousin to the banana hammock. Yes, Milton.
Yeah.
It is.
So
Yes.
yeah, I'm just glad that the answer was Valtteri Bottas and
Bumcraft. Yes, Dave. Yes, you're right. Bumcraft.
Well, because
I like it.
much like our spy like gate is put on the end of everything.
Yes, like a gate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I feel that craft is put on the spy craft, race craft, pod craft, like everything is a
Budgie Craft. Valtteri's got Budgie Craft.
Bumcraft. Yeah, I think this
Bumcraft is good.
Except for when there was water in the tires and they didn't call it Watergate. I still am like, that was the most obvious.
I know, that was obvious.
And you let it go. Nobody
I know,
brought
they
that
just
up.
totally,
Watergate.
well, we did.
Of course, because they're smart like that.
Of course, yeah. Next headline, Lewis Hamilton crashes in second test with Ferrari since signing a £100 million deal as incident causes long delay in Barcelona. But wait, the very next headline, why Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari crash is a good omen for record F1 world title host, but not this year.
Is that because he crashed when he rode?
I don't know. It's the media. They carry so much water for Lewis. It's unbelievable.
I think that was what somebody said, that like his first run with McLaren, he also crashed, and that turned out well.
Well, I would expect it for Lewis, and I've said this on podcasts. The thing I always loved about Lewis on like Fridays is Friday practice, and you'd oftentimes see Lewis, especially at a new track, but generally each race weekend, you'll see him run wide at turn 3, you see him run off at turn 5 or whatever on Friday, but that's because he's finding out where all the limit is. Right, of the track. He's like he's like Gene in the Cowbell. He's really exploring the space, right? And so he's pushing the limit to find out where the limits are around that track. And I always felt like that was just part of his racecraft, not his bumcraft, but his racecraft. His bumcraft, he does something different.
Well, I mean, but you do have to feel it in your butt, right? Like there's
well,
some
you could argue
driving,
that.
Right?
Yes,
like,
yeah. Paul often says you feel it with your bum, so
right?
There you go.
Paul's got good bumcraft.
Yeah,
we'll know when Paul gets to the end of the pod.
Yes, we will. And I'm sure Paul has his own a pair of budgie smugglers. He probably terrorized the neighborhood over there in Kent in his budgie smugglers at the public pool. Let's see. Anyway, so I thought those were colliding headlines I thought were fun about Lewis.
Yes.
So anyway.
That's right.
Yes, it's good.
It's good. Whatever Lewis does is going to be good for Ferrari. It's fine. And it's also...
Scene says, I worry about the search results this podcast will appear in.
Oh, no.
You're right. I should have AI get a transcript of it that I could post in the body of the post on the website so it can search it.
Although I do love watching the podcast just for the translation.
I know, they're hilarious.
It's great.
Yeah, people.
What does it think these words are?
If you're out there, you're thinking, "Oh man, the closed caption is way." I literally do not have time to sit and go through an hour and 15 minutes of closed caption correct errors. I literally don't have that time.
Hey, I love that we're parked for May, like Aunt May, like from Spider-Man, like we're parked for May, specifically.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
Exactly. Anyway, well, that does it for this podcast. We're done, Grace. We are so done. This is podcast 923 in the history books. Hey, a big shout out to our Patreon. I know we're losing a few Patreon supporters, and look, folks, I get it. Economy's tough, and I totally understand. So I'm not hurt by that. But we can't and would not be able to do this podcast without our Patreon supporters. So if any of you out there love the podcast, you ever wanted to be a supporter, you can just go to our website, The Park for May. and down at the bottom or on the right hand side it'll say support us, and you can click on that. You can support us through PayPal, you can support us through Patreon or other ways, but Patreon, you'll get a link to this podcast, and you can join in our audience like Zine and Dave and Mountain and Fabio and everybody else has. So we would love to have you, and your support is incredibly important to us. Over on YouTube, hit the like, hit the bell icon, share the video and the podcast with a friend if you like it. If you love the podcast, go to your favorite podcast player, give us a love, give us a good rating over there. We'd really appreciate that as always. And we'll be back next week. We'll be talking about Formula One once again. It's what we do. But until that time next week, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long, Grace.
See you next week.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.